folks' attention. Don't you play crazy until God has to allow something drastic to happen in your life or in somebody's life close to you or around you that you get wind of before you straighten up and fly right. Some folk do not straighten up until you show them the belt. Because they don't believe you're going to use it until you bring it in close proximity. All right. Same thing is true with us in our walk with God. A lot of us are trying God in ways we ought not to. And we're just kind of laying back on God and leaning. No trouble comes into our life, and that becomes the excuse to kind of, take it easy and sit back and slide into a state of being where you feel like everybody has got favor on their life and they're struggling. Just don't look like there's any break in sight. Man, you look good. I really love that look. You look like a woman. Really good. Around there. Now, what am I saying? Too many times we get distracted by life. And if you and I are not careful, life will steal life from us. And it steals it by stealing faith. And there's very subtle things to steal faith. It'll make you too tired to read, too sad to pray, too angry, so you can't pray because you don't want to face the guilt of your attitude. All right. Because that won't fly with God. You ever try to go to God with attitude? Because see, if I regard iniquity in my heart, the Lord will not hear you. Could you imagine me come to God? I'm so mad with someone going to get me, and God goes, talking to me? Couldn't be. But when something drastic happens, folks straighten up. Why is it those folks shared everything? Anybody know why? Why did they share everything?
Because they wanted everybody to be on the same accord.
They kept the one accord. You know what the one accord really dealt with? It dealt with a sense of urgency that kept them wanting to stay focused. Because now when you read later on in chapter number 5, you see what great fear comes on them again when they petition the Lord concerning the threatenings that are coming their way. Did you notice that? They say to the Lord, Lord, behold their threatenings. Lord, look at how these folks are threatening us. And what did God do when they said, Lord, look at it? Shook the very foundations where they were. I was reading in Zephaniah and I was reading another one of the books, Obadiah. I want you to check something out when you go read those. God starts pronouncing his judgment of the sinner man. Esau's kids in particular. And one of the main indictments he had against them, Triplet, is that I'm going to get you because when the children of Israel got in trouble for doing wrong, you profited off of their despair. All right. I'm going to get you. So folk who are profiting off of your despair, darling, God's going to get them. So while you worried about how long you're going to be in despair, you ought to be thanking God there is despair and you recognize him in it. Because when the children of Israel got to the place where they had sinned against God, they were in chains, butt naked, being carried off into captivity. God said, I'm going to send you in with your butt out. And he did just that. And then some of them, he put their eyes out. Allowed their enemies to put their eyes out, literally. And the last thing they saw was the freedom that they had after their children were killed in their face. Last thing they saw, their children being killed. And they had to live with that thought and no vision because that's all they took before they took their eyesight. Playing with God ain't going to get you nowhere. But what is God saying to us? He's saying, I got you covered. But you need to go back to the foundation where I established my church and built my church. See, the souls kept being added while they stayed with one accord, steadfast in the doctrine, and continued in fellowship. You could imagine all the folk in the world seeing these Christians. They were first called that at Antioch. Seeing all these saints sharing everything. And some of y'all won't get nobody to ride to church. Not y'all, I mean, church folk in general. They don't get in my car and dirty it up. Man, Sister Jackie dealt with that. We got saved. We got a lady with these kids, house dirty, cheering dirty. We try to help her clean them up and keep them up. But we didn't mind. Car be, ooh, help me now. But she needed to ride to church. That's all we care about. And my wife taught her how to do better hygiene. You don't have to embarrass anybody, hurt anybody. And in some of us, we have enough to share certain things, and we won't. There are other things we ought not to, and we do. And you know the worst thing we share? Bad habits.
Yes, we do.
Tell folks my wife got a shopping problem. Guess we don't want to tell her first thing we come to town.
Ooh, guess what's on sale?
Let's go
Take you
shopping.
shopping.
Thank you. I don't think I want to visit your house. What am I saying? If we get back to the foundations, y'all, if we get back to the foundations, notice there's no room for self except self-sacrifice, giving of oneself. And if they shared, that meant that somebody was going without until they shared, doesn't it? But there's nowhere where you read about the complaining until they started talking about the folk being neglected, when they started picking deacons. And notice, the apostle said, we need to find some faithful men full of the Holy Ghost to deal with this, because we need to give ourselves to the Word. The doctrine only changes when the teachers change or the teachers stop eating. You got to give yourself to the Word and doctrine. On days when I don't get into scriptures like I should, oh, it shows. It shows to me. I know enough stuff to fool you sometimes. Because I can go off memory and be years ahead of folk who ain't never heard what I was taught 20 years ago. But God knows there's a lack somewhere. And God is saying to you, is it prayer? Is it fast? Is it reading? Is it doctrine? People go for false doctrine because they don't know the Word, don't understand. That's why when y'all hear crazy stuff, even you kids know the difference. If somebody say something janky about the Bible, you know right away those Holy Ghost goes, ding, 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 ding. No. God got a built-in warning system in this Holy Ghost.